In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. We were discussing hadith number 373 in the book of Imaan Muslim. We had reached the part of the prophetic saying that talks about ash-shafa'ah, intercession. That is after people wait for a long time on the day of resurrection, waiting for the judgment to start, and then the people go to different prophets, and then they end up going to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, asking him to plead with Allah for the beginning of al-hisab, which is reckoning. And that, when that happens, before that happens, the Prophet ﷺ makes prostration and he praises Allah and he pleads with Allah until Allah gives him the permission to make intercession. He makes intercession and pleads with Allah to start judgment, but then also he makes intercession for those people who were taken to the fire of hell, were believers who have been taken to the fire of hell, so that he can help, when he makes intercession, Allah will accept that intercession and pleading and bring them out from the fire of hell. And so it is mentioned here that when he makes intercession, he will be given a certain limit for certain kinds of people to leave first. And those are the people who have a lesser burden of violations and sin. So فَيُحَدُّ لِي حَدًّا فَأُخْرِجْهُمْ مِنَ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلُهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. And those people are taken out from the fire of hell, they are admitted to paradise. ثُمَّ أَعُودُ فَأَقَعُ سَاجِدًا. Then he goes back, he makes prostration again. فَيَدَعُنِي مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَدَعَنِي فَيَدَعُنِي مَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَدَعَنِي ثم يقال ارفع رأسك محمد قل تسمع سل تعطى اشفع تشفع فأرفع رأسي فأحمد ربي بتحميد يعلمني ثم أشفع فيحد لي حدا فأخرجه من النار وأدخله من الجنة. The same sequence. He makes prostration. Allah leaves him in that position for some time. And then he will be told to raise his head. Then Allah would say to him, say and you will be heard, and ask and you will be given, and intercede and the intercession will be accepted. He says, then he raises his head, then he starts praising Allah for accepting, of course, his pleading with Allah. Then again, another limit is given to him for people with even who are deeper in the fire of hell and had more burden of sin. فَأُخْرِجْهُمْ مِنَ النَّارِ وَأُدْخِلُهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. قال فلا أدري في الثالثة أو في الرابعة. قال, now the person who's talking right now is the narrator. He says, I don't recall if this sequence is repeated 3 times or 4 times. فأقول يا رب ما بقي في النار إلا من حبسه القرآن. Then he would say, oh Allah, there's no one left in the fire of hell except those who have been condemned to eternity by the Quran. That is because the verses of the Quran tell very clearly, إن الله لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء. Allah does not forgive those who associate with him, but he can forgive anything lesser than that. إنه من يشرك بالله فقد حرم الله عليه الجنة ومأواه النار. The other verse says that whoever associates with Allah, Allah has made the paradise forbidden for him. He will never enter paradise. ومأواه النار. And his final abode, meaning for eternity, is the fire of hell. إلا من حبسه القرآن. So by these verses of the Quran, they have been condemned to fire of hell. And he says, oh Allah, there's nobody left, meaning of the believers. Even no matter how much sin or violations they've committed, eventually all of them will be saved from the fire of hell. لم يبقى في النار إلا من حبسه القرآن وواجب عليه الخلود. And he is doomed for eternity in the fire of hell. قال ابن عبيد في روايته قال قتادة أي وجب عليه الخلود. We can take another wording of this hadith by Anas. I think the previous one was, who was the narrator in the previous one? It was a longer hadith. We've been discussing it for 3 nights. I don't recall the narrator of this one. It was also Anas. So this is a different wording of the same narration by Anas, meaning a different narrator who took it from Anas, and that's why there could be different wording, although it is from the same companion. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يجتمع المؤمنون يوم القيامة فيهتمون بذلك أو يلهمون بذلك. Here he says the believers are gathered on the day of judgment. فيهتمون بذلك أو يلهمون لذلك. Then they are stressed by that, or they are inspired to go and seek relief for the situation. The believers are the ones who go and seek relief for the situation. The previous hadith says that all humanity is gathered, and here it gives us an additional piece of information that the ones who are inspired to go and find a way out from this situation of waiting are the believers. They are inspired to go. And then it says بمثل حديث أبي عوانة وقال في الحديث ثم أتيه الرابعة أو أعود الرابعة. It says then everything is the same in the whole narration, or the prophetic saying, until the very end. He says very clearly, explicitly here, that it is the fourth time the Prophet ﷺ goes back the fourth time. ثم أتيه الرابعة وأعود الرابعة فأقول يا رب ما بقي إلا من حبسه القرآن. So on the fourth time he would say to Allah, "O Allah, nobody is left in the fire of hell except those who have been condemned for eternity in the fire of hell." Another wording by Anas, related to Anas al-Malik, أن النبي الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يجمع الله المؤمنين يوم القيامة فيلهمون لذلك بمثل حديثهما وذكر الرابعة فقول يا رب ما بقي في النار إلا من حبسه القرآن أي وجب عليه الخلود. Exact same wording, no difference. And then another narration also connected to Anas al-Malik, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يخرج من النار من قال لا إله إلا الله وكان في قلبه من الخير ما يزن شعيرة. The meaning is that شعيرة, everyone who has the least amount of faith and goodness in his heart. Let me see. Yes. He says even the equal to the weight of a barley grain, sha'ira, even as little. So he says here the conditions of coming out from the fire of hell is that this person would be a believer. يقول لا إله إلا الله من قال لا إله إلا الله, and at the same time had the slightest amount of goodness, which means he was a true believer, because you cannot be a true believer and have no goodness whatsoever, or any fruit of that belief in your heart. You must have some goodness in your heart. Even if it was as little as a barley grain, he will be extracted from the fire of hell and saved. ثم يخرج من النار من قال لا إله إلا الله وكان في قلبه من الخير ما يزن بره. He says then after that, even those who have as little goodness in their heart, equal even to the weight of a wheat grain, they will also be extracted from the fire of hell. And then he says, the last time, ويخرج من النار ثم يخرج من النار من قال لا إله إلا الله. So here he put it into three stages. The first stage are those who have as little goodness in their heart as a grain of barley. Second level was those who have as little as the grain of wheat. And then the third group is who have as little, after saying La ilaha illallah, have as little as dharra. How did he translate dharra here? He says a weight of an atom. Of course, dharra means particle, or see, atom, this is a new term that was not known at the time. So Arabs, if you tell them dharra, they wouldn't know an atom, right? We didn't even know atoms until recently. But atom, dharra, for the Arabs means the smallest and smallest of particles. So even the slightest and slightest of goodness in the heart, also those people will be extracted from the fire of hell. The following narration, also very related to this, is longer, so we will leave it to some other time. Yeah.